Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Sara Lubratt. Today is Thursday and we are starting off another writing vlog. I wanted to start this writing vlog off with the transparency of talking about how long it's been since I last wrote. Often I write in ebbs and flows because sometimes I'm really feeling it. I'll write really well for like 2 weeks and then I'll take like 2 weeks off because I'm just like not feeling it. So today is November 21st. I took an accidental break from writing October 31st to November 10th, which is an 11-day span of no writing at all. I'm sure I made a couple notes on my phone about random lines. I've actually been coming up with some names recently, which is very exciting because that's a super hard topic for me. But other than that, I didn't write for 11 days. And then I went on a writing retreat. And because the writing retreat was going to be the evening of the first day, a full second day, and then half of a third day, I didn't want to work on Project Veil because I was getting close to the end. I didn't want to write the ending to Veil and then run out of things or like not know what to work on for the rest of the writing retreat. So I actually started working on my sci-fi romance project. You guys likely would have already seen that video by now. And so I wrote 4 out of 6 days from November 11th to November 16th. And then I got back from the writing retreat on Saturday of this previous weekend, and now today is Thursday. So that is 4 days since I last wrote. I was out of town late October, early November, and I think part of that is why I'm in such a funk, because I was 2 time zones over in Florida with my family when the time change happened. And so instead of coming back 2 hours with the time change, I was basically coming back 3 hours to Utah. And that was such a hard transition. It's now getting dark at like 5 o'clock in Utah. I'm not ready for this. I'm not used to this. I'm struggling with this. And I think that that has put me in such a funk because as soon as the sun goes down at like 5 or 5:30, I like cannot mentally do anything. So today I'm trying to get a little bit ahead of that. I have been working so far today. It's currently 2:34 and I am now going to the library to write for a bit. My goal with this writing vlog is to write the ending for Project Veil. Veil currently stands at 18,085 words. I think that within the next 2,000 words I will write the ending because I still need to go back through what I have written and bolster the story with relationships and backstory and things that I was just skipping over while writing the first draft. But I do think that in this video I'm going to be able to write the ending of Project Veil, which is so freaking exciting. I started officially working on Project Veil like 2 months ago, so the fact that I'm almost done with the rough draft, it just feels so good to write something this quickly, which was the goal of my palette cleanser projects, Project Veil and my sci-fi romance project. And I'm just ecstatic that it's working out that way too. Because sometimes I set goals and then the goals change or I don't hit them or the stories change, but Project Veil has remained largely the same. And I think that a big part of that is because Project Veil takes place over like 72 hours. It is a fast-paced fantasy story. I think that because of the bite-sized nature of it, I think because of the fact that it takes place over 72 hours, the story has remained largely the same. I'm having so much fun writing it and I'm so excited to write the ending because I started Project Veil knowing the last line. So now I'm like in the final stretch building up to that last line and I'm so excited. So with that, let's go to the library. I just got back from doing an hour at the library. I was able to add just under 500 words, and my scope for this video just got bigger because I sat down at the library to basically work on the last scene, and then I realized that the scene could be over in like 2 paragraphs, and I'm like, well, that would be a really short video, and B, I don't want to be done at 18,000 words because I know the story needs more work. I know there's more things I want to add in, and I don't want to get that satisfaction of finishing again in quotes, until I feel happy that draft 1 of Veil is actually done. So that being said, that means that I spent my hour at the library working on going through the notes that I have at the end of the Veil document, which is included in those 18,000 words. And that's where I was able to add in my roughly just under 500 words. And I was mostly just like refreshing my brain on like what I had notes on and what I wanted to add into the story. And then as I was reading those things, I was adding more ideas and and I was strengthening certain ideas that I had, and now I want to change some things in day 1 of the story. So I basically just finished up going over my notes and set myself up for my next writing session. I also think I have a main character name for this story now, because I had run into the issue where the Veil project and my other palette cleanser project that I call my sci-fi romance project had the same main character name, which I really like, but I think that it's a little more sci-fi-y, so I'm going to keep it for the sci-fi romance, and I'm going to change the Veil project main character's name. And I think I have a name for her. I don't want to switch it out yet, just because I know that as I keep writing, habit is going to have me keep putting in the sci-fi name and like the name that I have been using for this story. And so I might hold back a little bit longer, but I have a name, which is very exciting. So when I finish what I'm calling draft 1 of Project Veil, I can then sub in the new name that I have for her. So that's now what I want to focus on in this video, is bolstering up my Veil project so that then when I write the ending scene and the ending line, kind of like the closing image, I can feel accomplished and I can feel like everything else is relatively done as far as things can be done for a first draft. I'm also trying to write a morally ambiguous character, and I need to go back through and add some more things that make her more morally ambiguous, because that's like a big part of the story, and I need to figure out what kinds of things to add in. I was coming up with a couple things that I think will help, and I also couldn't help myself while I was at the library. I am currently brainstorming a series that I want to do on YouTube during January, and I was coming up with some great ideas for those YouTube videos, so I had to take a couple minutes and work on that too. Also, while I was at the library, I was thinking about seasonal depression, which is what I think I've been fighting recently, just with there being so much more darkness and not being outside as much. So I wanted to go through and share a couple of things that might help somebody else in fighting seasonal depression. I promise that this will be quick, but you can skip ahead if you want to. The first thing is, last night I realized that my apartment is so freaking dry. I think it was at 27% humidity last night, and my body just like starts shutting down if there's not enough moisture in the air. So I ordered a humidifier last night. I think that this is going to help so much with just like how dry air gets in Utah in the winter, because Utah is technically like a high altitude desert, I believe. Not as deserty as some desert places, but it's very dry. So I think that having a humidifier is going to be so helpful for me. This is what it looks like. I'm pretty much going to run it at night. If I notice that the humidity in my apartment is still really low during the day, I might run it during the day as well. But this is just so that I can breathe easier. The second thing that I found really helps me is having greenery in my space. So like plants. I have 2 staghorn ferns next to my mirror above my couch, this one and this one, and they have been the easiest plants to keep alive. They were the first plants I was ever able to keep alive because I did not have a green thumb, but I've had these for like 2.5 years now, almost 3 years, and they are doing so well. They're so easy to take care of. I water them once a week in the sink, let them dry out for the night, and then hang them back up. I ordered my mounted staghorn ferns online. They shipped super easily. I will link the company that I bought those from down in the description box below. As most of you know, I also have a very, very, very massive bird of paradise. This plant has also been insanely easy to take care of. I also adopted him from a couple that was moving out of my apartment building, but I think they said they had just bought him from like Lowe's, which is a hardware store in the US. And I think they said he was about yay tall when they bought him, and then he was about this tall when I got him, and then he's shot up again beyond that since then. And I've also had him for probably about a year. One of the biggest game changers for me that I've used like since high school is my sunrise alarm clock. This is the one I've had since high school. I have a different, cheaper version at my parents' house in Minnesota that was like $30 on Amazon. And the gist of a sunrise alarm clock is that for the 30 minutes leading up to your alarm, the lights come on so that it slowly brightens the room, which is especially amazing in the dark hours when you have to get up for work or school and the sun isn't up yet. I have blackout curtains in my room, so having something that lights up my room when I'm ready to wake up is super helpful. Like I said, I've been using that one since high school, but that was a game changer when my seasonal depression was even worse because I lived in Minnesota when I was in high school. Another trick that's light related is a happy light. There's a lot of different brands that make these, but the gist of this is to simulate sunlight, especially in the winter when we're not getting enough, to help encourage your circadian rhythm to basically work properly. And I used to use this happy light when I was studying. I think you only need like 15 minutes of it or so, but I try to use it in the morning and as the sun is going down, just to try and trick my brain that the days are longer than they actually are. And then I think the last thing I wanted to mention was I recently bit the bullet and, oh, that's a pretty, streak of light across the screen. Probably means my camera's dirty. That's better. I recently bit the bullet and bought a walking pad because I have been noticing that I'm just not moving enough. And I have it set up at my island instead of also buying a standing desk. So when I've been using my walking pad, I just set my computer on top of a stack of books and walk as I work. I'm also still figuring out my extension cord situation, so just ignore that. But I wanted to share these things in hopes that it might help somebody else. Everything that I mentioned will be linked down in the description box below. They're all things that I swear by, and I'm so happy that I have. I would have to say though that my favorite is the sunrise alarm clock, and I'm gonna link the one that I have at my parents' house, which like I said, I think was like 30 bucks. So that all being said, I hope you guys are all doing okay with winter. I know that it sucks. I don't like winter. It can be really pretty, but it just gets cold and gross and dark, and daylight savings time in the winter just, it sucks. Happy Friday. It is now 3:19. I just got back from a hike with one of my friends, which was like very on theme with my Veil project because the 72-ish hours of Veil takes place in snowy mountains. So very much on theme. Honestly, kind of helpful with how out of breath I was getting to like be thinking about how my character would be. I'm going to a friend's birthday party tonight. I baked the cake last night. That's how I spent my time from like 12:30 to 2 last night. And then I let it cool overnight, and now I'm gonna frost it before the party, but I am hoping to do like 30 to 60 minutes of working on bolstering up the Veil project today before I head to the party, which is in like 2.5, 3 hours. So I should have enough time, but first things first, I need to frost the cake and then I'll get to writing. I just finished frosting the cake. I think it looks really good. It has a little bit of a naked bottom edge, but that's fine. I think it looks really good, so I'm gonna stop touching it and just put the cover on so that it's ready for later. There's also leftover chocolate frosting, which goes so well on strawberries. So when I go pick up her candles, I'm also gonna pick up strawberries so that we can do some strawberry dipping in the frosting. It's now 4:30. I'm gonna try and sit down for like half an hour before I have to start getting ready for the party and work on bolstering my project Veil. I think how I'm gonna do this is open up a brand new document and then kind of copy and paste over as I go. Copy and paste / rewriting sections as I need to, but I think that that's gonna be the most thorough way for me to go about this. I just finished getting ready for the birthday party. I am tired. I feel like I need a coffee or something. I mean, it's like 6:20. The fact that it's been dark out for like an hour just has me feeling like I'm not ready to leave. I know this is gonna be fun, but anyways, I came on to tell you guys about my writing earlier. In the 30 minutes that I sat down on my couch to write, I ended up rewriting and like adding to, I don't know how I'm gonna track this honestly, but I ended up with 791 words in my new document, which is like a page and a half. And I think I'm only a couple of paragraphs into the story because I had things that I decided that I wanted to add. And as I was adding things, I was also coming up with more things that I want to add throughout the first chapter and the rest of the story. My arm is falling asleep. I also made the decision that my main character has 3 brothers, not 2, because I think that makes more sense. But that was something that I was struggling with when I was first writing it. I almost want to call my 18,000 word document like a 0 draft just because it was so stream of consciousness. I just need to get the idea, like the gist down on paper. And now I kind of feel like I'm writing draft 1 or my rough draft, but I'm just going to simplify it and say that this whole process is the rough draft. But I'm now 791 words into my new document for this, which is very promising. I don't think we're going to stay out too late tonight. I think the birthday girl said she wants to come back at like midnight, which if that's the case and I have energy after, I might even get some more writing done later, which would be awesome. Same spot, same sweatshirt, but it's the next day and I still have my flash tats on from last night. So happy Saturday. I was really happy with the progress that I got done yesterday, writing 791 words in my new document for the Veil project, where I'm working on bolstering up the story to have it be like what it actually is in my head, but could not be in my first pass of writing it down. So it is currently 3:49 p.m. When it turns to be 3:50, I'm going to start a writing sprint where I'm going to continue working on bolstering up Project Veil. Those 30 minutes absolutely flew by, and I just finished bolstering the first chapter. So the first chapter now sits at 1,778 words. In my, what I'm calling for the sake of this video, zero draft, the first chapter stood at 1,151 words, which means that across today and yesterday, I added 627 words to the first chapter. I also added a stronger ending to the first chapter, so as my character is trying to do something, she gets stopped, which I know is super vague, but I think makes the ending of the first chapter so much stronger, and already the first chapter looks so much better than my zero draft version did. So now I'm gonna stand up. I have not moved a whole lot today, so I'm gonna go, and by go, I mean walk 5 feet to my walking pad and do some walking for 15 or 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. Probably watch a YouTube video and just do a little bit of movement before getting started on chapter 2 and writing some more. It's now 1:43 in the morning. I ended up doing a couple more writing sprints this evening, and this last writing sprint was for the last hour. But now my bolstering document, which is what my document is like literally called, but basically, and I know you guys get the gist, but as I'm rewriting this, the new document that I'm rewriting into is now at 3,086 words. And a good chunk of that I was able to just copy and paste over from the zero draft version. But then the last like couple hundred words, I think I was adding something, because when I got towards the end of working on the zero draft, I decided that something needed to happen to the main character earlier than it was in the first version. And I think it's going to make it much better, but that is going to make me rewrite some things as I go through this. But I do think that it's going to be stronger, or end up being stronger, when I'm done with it. So I think that these are beneficial steps to be taking, and this last hour was really beneficial. I turned off the lights in my apartment, I turned on my Himalayan salt lamp, I turned on my LED lamps, and I made myself a cup of tea, and it was just like the perfect vibe, and I really locked in, which felt really good. So let's go ahead and see how much I've added so far in chapter 2. I didn't finish chapter 2, but that's what I was working on. Okay, so far in chapter 2 was at 609 words, and now I'm at 1,133 words. I was also taking notes, which is why that number doesn't add up to a little over 3,000 if you add that to the chapter 1 word count, which means I added 524 words to this section so far. So I think I'm already up like 800 words. That somehow sounds right, which is kind of amazing, and it feels like faster progress than I think I was expecting. But I also might be changing more now and less later. I'm not totally sure yet. So basically today I went from 792 words in the rewriting document to 3,086 words, which means that today I rewrote / copy and pasted over / wrote new words in the sum of 2,294 words, which is a pretty freaking amazing day, and I'm very happy to take that. So with that, I'll see y'all tomorrow. I don't know how to make my hair look cute in this head wrap thing. Today is Sunday. I'm going for a walk, trying to keep my ears warm. I think I'm gonna spend my walk trying to brainstorm for my Veil project, and just some of the phrasing that I'm going to need in the upcoming, like rest of chapter 2 / early chapter 3. I can't look at myself because I can't look at the hair, specifically like this bump right there. I think I'm gonna use my walk to brainstorm. Happy Monday, you guys. Today being Monday means that I have writing group tonight, but I am feeling under the weather. So I decided that I'm not going to writing group tonight, but I am going to stay home and still do my writing. It's currently 4:30. I would love to do like 2 hours of writing this evening, which I will be able to do, especially because I'm so used to Monday nights being my writing group night. Yesterday on Sunday, I didn't get any writing done. I think I was starting to get sick and just like couldn't really identify what was going on, but tonight we're gonna make it happen. It's now 6:30. I can feel like I'm getting sicker, so I know I need to start my writing sooner rather than later. So I'm gonna change into something a little more comfy, quite possibly the same sweatshirt that you guys have seen me in the past several days. But like, what can I say? That thing is my writing sweatshirt, and I pretty much only wear it to write and chill in, but I know I really need to get started on my writing. Obviously, changed back into the same sweatshirt, but I was thinking like, oh, I'd love it if something was playing in the background, and so I looked up ambient mixers, and apparently right now they're featuring their like winter sounds. So I found one that's called A Gusty Winter Evening with Mild Hints of Animal Life, and obviously I'm gonna have it down lower than this, but I'm turning it up for you guys. Sounds brutal and perfect for what I'm writing tonight. It's now 11:40 p.m. I have been going in and out of writing, and I don't think I can do any more tonight. I really want to go to bed, and I know that that's probably the smarter idea so that I can get better quicker. I don't have a word count for tonight just because I copy and pasted a bunch of stuff over from chapter 2, and then I was just going to go through in the same document because I think I'm going to keep a lot of chapter 2. So I don't have a word count for today, but progress on chapter 2 was made, and that's good enough for me. So good night. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Happy Tuesday. I feel a little less sick this morning, which is wonderful. And I'm wearing the same sweatshirt because the fire alarm in my building went off this morning, and this is what was easy and available to throw on that I didn't have to think about. So I just finished making my breakfast. I've been working a little bit this morning. I think I'm at a good point where I could jump over to doing some writing, or at least, work on bolstering for a few minutes. So I think I should do that to try and get ahead of myself before my brain fully wakes up. And that's probably one of the things where I should just stop talking about it and start doing it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, I just finished up chapter 2. I actually took out a portion for chapter 2. I also copy and pasted some stuff over in the part that I didn't bring over, if that makes sense, that I'm gonna have to add in at other points throughout the story, but I still wanted it in my bolstering document so that I can add those when I want to. So again, I didn't change a ton with chapter 2. I did add something, so a little more action happened during chapter 2, and I added in some backstory and a name for one of the characters that had just previously been blanks and days because I didn't know what the person's gender was or what their name was or what their history was or anything like that. So I finally made some of those decisions. I added that back in. Not back in, but I finally added that in. And so chapter 2 of my original document was 3,253 words. Wow. And then in the bolstering document, it ended at 3,697 words. So I did actually add 444 words yesterday and today to chapter 2. And the current total word count in my Veil bolstering document right now is 5,861. So that number is going up, and I've already added, that would be a little over 1,000 words so far to the first 2 chapters, which is pretty freaking cool. Good morning, happy Thursday. Today's actually Thanksgiving, but my family is getting together this upcoming Saturday, so in 2 days from now, for our big family meal instead of today. I flew home yesterday, which was Wednesday, and I work really well on planes. I also didn't change a whole lot in the chapter, so I will give that disclaimer, but I got my bolstering document to 8,250 words yesterday, and I really wasn't changing much. I was mostly copy and pasting over and changing a couple things that had changed in the first 2 chapters, because I believe I'm now on chapter 3, and I think that I could pretty easily finish chapter 3 if I work on it today. Yeah, I only have 3-ish pages left of chapter 3 in my original document, and because I was changing very little, I think that it will not be hard at all to finish bringing over and updating chapter 3. morning. Happy Wednesday. You guys might also notice that I'm now back in Utah. Not in Minnesota anymore. I went to Minnesota for Thanksgiving, had a wonderful week. I didn't work on the Veil project as soon as I landed in Minnesota. Like, I worked on it on the plane, and then I just enjoyed being around family and doing some of my freelancing work when I was in Minnesota for the holiday. And then I flew back yesterday, and I was able to get some work done while I was on the plane. I finished transferring over chapter 3 yesterday, and I wasn't making as many changes as I was expecting to make, so I did a lot of copy and pasting over. So my original chapter 3 was 3,719 words. My bolstered chapter 3 was 3,960 words. So I guess I added like 240 words, which is not that much for a chapter that's already almost 4,000 words long, but it was basically pretty easy what I was working on yesterday. And then I started working on chapter 4, and I think there's only like 6 chapters in this novella, and chapter 4 has also been pretty easy, just updating a little bit as I'm moving it over. And honestly, like, I'm kind of expecting it to be this way for the rest of my bolstering draft, just because I wanted to add a little bit at the beginning, and I have been making notes of like, oh, well, if I wanted to make this like more complicated, I could add this in, or I could add this in, you know, like just making myself little notes as I go, but doing what I can for this version of draft 1. So yesterday I worked on a total of 3,897 words. My bolstering draft now sits at just over 12,000 words. The original rough draft was 18,500 words, so I could be 6,000 to 8,000. I'm probably closer to 8,000 words from the end. So maybe this novella will end up being a little bit shorter than I had anticipated, but this is the first draft. I can always go back in and add more in later if I choose to. But now that I'm back in Utah, after enjoying my time with my family and just not being hard on myself over the holidays, now I'm back in Utah. I'm ready to go. I've already been like crazy productive this morning, and now I'm kind of wondering if I can finish this bolstering draft in the next 2 days. At least that's the hope. And I think I can if I, sit down for as long as I was on the plane yesterday and got almost 4,000 words done. I think I can do something similar to that today. So that's my hope. It's still Wednesday. I just changed. It is now 7:15 p.m. I'm wrapping up a little writing sprint, and I just finished chapter 4. Again, didn't change a whole lot for chapter 4, but I wanted to see if there was any difference in word count. I'm sure there will be a little bit. I found myself taking things out, but then it felt like I was adding back in like the same number of words, which is totally fine. Just kind of funny that I don't really think that there will be much of a difference. So in the original chapter 4, there were 2,942 words, and in the bolstering document, there were 3,229 words in chapter 4. Okay, so I was able to add some stuff. I added 287 words. I also have like no real concept of where I'm at as far as total word count so far, because I haven't really been tracking that other than mentioning it in the video. So I'm just gonna go ahead and highlight the first 4 chapters and see how many words I've added so far in total. Part of that is because I'm on page 24 in both documents, but I used different fonts in both documents because I was using Comic Sans in different colors in the first one, and then in my bolstering document I've been switching that to a more standard black font, and it just looks like it takes up less space on the page. And I just finished highlighting. The first 4 chapters in the original draft was 11,071 words, and the bolstering draft is 12,638 words. So I am up just about 1,550-ish words. I'm not going to do the exact math. Honestly, a little bit less than I was expecting, but I'm not mad about it. And that kind of just helps me set realistic expectations about how long it's going to take me to finish the rest of this process. Happy Thursday. Thursday? Yes, Thursday. This lighting is terrible. All this lighting is bad. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I'm going to a coffee shop to get some words done. It's now 11:15 p.m., but earlier at the coffee shop, I worked on the Veil project for like an hour and a half probably, and ended up working on 2,500-ish words. I finished chapter 5, but chapter 5 was pretty short. So in the end, I might end up adding chapter 5 back into chapter 4, like, just making it one continuous chapter. But as everything stands right now, the original chapter 5 was 1,096 words, and the bolstered Chapter 5 was 1,094 words. I did not change a whole lot. I clearly took out 2 words. I was like tweaking sentences, but nothing too crazy. And then I started working on chapter 6, and then I hit a spot where I just fully left out a couple of scenes because I didn't know what to write. And so that slowed me down a little bit. Basically, most of the 2,500-ish words that I was working on today was copy and pasting over. Again, making like small tweaks, but then I hit the end of that section, probably around 2,200 words, and then I had to start adding in the scene. So that's what I'm going to be working on for the next couple of days, is finishing adding in these scenes, and then I think it's a clear shot to the end.
Okay, happy Friday. I just finished up a gym session and I spent the entire time at the gym like listening to a couple of songs on repeat, like just looped. Probably 3 songs, but I would switch between the 3 songs. So I would like listen to one several times, then I would listen to another one several times, and then another one several times. And I spent like a solid 45 minutes brainstorming for a new project that I'm very, very excited to write. Not a new project, you guys know about it already, but just getting very excited to start on that. And what that means is that I need to finish Veil. I did probably about 10 minutes of brainstorming at the gym for the Veil project, but most of it was for this other project. But now I feel fired up and like I need to finish the Veil project so that I can start on this other project. What that means is that I need to work on Veil today. I don't think I will finish today, like I said a couple days ago, just because I have scenes that I'm needing to add in where I just completely skipped over them in the first draft, or the first version of my first draft, because I didn't exactly know what was going to happen there yet. So I need to add those scenes in. So it might take me a couple more days, but I'm getting closer and I have the motivation to finish. And I'm just feeling so excited. I feel like my confidence is a little bit higher now. My energy is high, that's for sure, after this brainstorming session, and I'm just feeling really good about writing again. Not that I wasn't necessarily, but I've just kind of felt off balance for a while, and brainstorming for this other project has me feeling like I'm starting to grow roots again, which is really exciting.
It's now Saturday. I was productive yesterday. I was creative yesterday. I ended up working on creative projects for like 2 hours, but only like 10 minutes of that was Veil, and that was brainstorming on the treadmill. So now, like literally right now, because I'm going to make myself do this, I'm going to sit down and resume working on the scenes that I'm adding in. It's still Saturday, or as much as 12:09 a.m. on a Sunday could be a Saturday, but you know when I said in the last clip that I was going to sit down and immediately start working on Veil? I didn't do that. I was hyping myself up to, and then I realized that I had a game night in like an hour and a half, and I still needed to go to the grocery store, so I did that instead. Then I made dinner, and then I left for the game night. So after the game night, I came home. I just wrapped up an hour-long writing session, and now my bolstering document is sitting above 17,000 words. I finished adding in the scene that I was adding in. I think I added about 700 words or so, and then I was able to start copy and pasting pretty much with like small tweaks, but largely copy and pasting over the next section for a total of 1,466 words work done today. All right, happy Sunday. I'm 3.5 pages from the end of my original document, that is, but 3.5 pages. It's only like 1,600 words, 1,645 words. It's currently 10:28 p.m. on Sunday. I could finish this tonight. I think I'm gonna try. I just got to the end of the rough draft document of Veil, like the rough draft document of Veil, and I officially have finished copy and pasting over, which should mean that I only have a couple more paragraphs until I'm officially done with the rough draft of this novella. I'm about to write the last line. I'm about to write it. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, I'm done. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Yay. Oh, that felt so good to finish something quickly. And by quickly, I don't exactly remember what I mean, so let's talk stats really quick. Okay, first things first, because I told you guys how my chapter word counts were changing with each chapter. Chapter 6 started at 3,791 words and went up to 4,996 words, meaning that I added 1,225 words in chapter 6. I honestly didn't add as many words as I was expecting to in this like bolstering draft. I didn't realize that my last 8 pages of my 42-page document were just notes. So if we include that in the total word count, because I might still go back in and add some of these things, but as it stands right now, it's very similar, or as similar as it can possibly be right this second, to how I view the story in my head, which is wonderful. But if I go ahead and transfer over the notes, my bolstering document with the notes sits at 21,914 words. Without the extra notes at the end, it's 19,298 words, whereas the super rough document was 18,578 words total, or 15,962 words, not including the notes at the end of the document. I officially started working on Project Veil on August 10th, I believe. And now today is December 8th. So August, September, October, November. Basically, I wrote this story over 4 months, which honestly, it just feels so good to spend 4 months writing something instead of like 9 years writing something. And I was calling Project Veil my palette cleanser project, and that's truly what it felt like. It was so much fun to write quickly. I was able to just speed through it. It was short and sweet, and it really felt like it helped me like refresh my brain a little bit. And like, I can't believe I'm done. Like, it feels so weird to have finished something so quickly. Yes, I know that it's like 19 or 20,000 words and not 108,000 words or 133,000 words like some of my previous projects have been, but this was a novella. I knew that it was short. I knew that it was going to be a fast-paced story. I knew that it was going to take place over like 72 hours. And I just love how easy that was. Like, I just loved how quick that was. Oh man, that felt really good. And the 4 months was my rough draft and my rough draft. But now, like I said, the story's starting to look like what I see in my head. There are still some things that I could add in, which I probably will in a future draft, but as it currently stands as a rough draft, I'm really happy with it. I just can't believe that it took me 4 months. Like, that just seems like not a lot of time. I think I'm gonna have to celebrate this the only way I know how. Woo! Yeah! Woo! Heck yeah, I finished it. Man, that feels good. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Sara Lubratt, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.